This was the LeBron James and the Michael Jordan of that era.
Darel's one of the best three-point shooters to ever play the game.
Darel is truly a living legend.
We lived on a farm. My dad had farmed all of his life, and all we knew was hard work.
We had a lot of chores to do. We would go milk cows, we'd feed the chickens, we'd work in the garden.
Hauling hay, cutting tobacco, and all that.
He's just a good old-fashioned Kentucky farm boy. He knows the meaning of hard work. He knew that there would be many a day in his life that he would be up before the sun would rise.
We just work. It wasn't any fun things to do back then. I mean, they just kept us busy on the farm.
So when you grow up on the farm and you work every day, you learn to work. And your father and mother's out there working with you, so they teach you how to work.
Of course, we had wonderful parents. I mean, they taught us character and integrity and truthfulness, honesty, and all those things. I mean, they were really good example.
Just the work ethic that he was able to learn on that farm life, I believe, is kind of what propelled him into stardom on the basketball court. That the work ethic was already there. Nobody was ever going to out-hustle Darel Carrier. Nobody was ever going to be able to out-fight Darel Carrier. It's just who he was, and that was just part of his life. And I believe all of the good qualities and traits that Darel learned on the farm, I believe that kind of contributed to his success on the basketball court.
We were so used to hard work on the farm that basketball was plain. Basketball was easy because I loved doing it.
Well, Darel Carrier is probably the best pure shooter in Kentucky high school, college, and pro basketball history.
I started off with the coach. His name was Jess Kimbrough. And Jess Kimbrough said he noticed me out when I was in 5th or 6th grade watching me shoot the basketball, that he could see some ability in me.
But Coach Kimbrough had his office next to the playground, and evidently he'd look out, and when we had recess, he said, you guys would always go to the goal and play ball. Others be able to swing or merry-go-round.
But after we couldn't play until we got to be in the 7th grade, and we would go play these other little junior high teams.
If we scored 36 points, Darel would have probably 28 of them. I remember him scoring just almost all of them then.
And the reason I had 28 is I shot a lot and I was a shooter, and my teammates didn't work at it like I did.
Coach Kimbrough, he really had a vision.
And he did me a great favor. I was the largest man on the team.
Where do most coaches put the tallest on the team? Center, almost every case.
And he put me out at the guard position, because if he put me at the center position, there'd be 3 or 4 hanging on me, and they couldn't get me the ball.
And he was exactly right.
So that's the reason I got to be a long-range shooter. I would shoot from way out on the floor before all the defense got on me.
He really did Darel probably more good than anybody, is putting him out there and turning him loose and giving him the free rein.
When Darel Carrier was in 8th grade for the Bristow High School, he was able to play up and scored 64 points as an 8th grader.
So the next day, Courier-Journal decides, hey, this is unusual for a kid as a freshman getting 64 points. We need to put his photo and picture here in the Courier-Journal with his coach. And of course, coaches from all over got to watching me after that.
It was quite a battle. Coach Diddle had to drive up to Bristow and convince Darel to stay at home. And I'm sure Darel's parents had a big say in, wanting to be able to go see him play in this or that. So instead of going to University of Kentucky or Louisville, being just a short time away, Coach Diddle was able to convince Darel to stay at home, and it all worked out for the best.
Mr. Diddle was quite a character.
He was a real recruiter. I mean, he talked to the parents and talked to the mother. And
he would get up and get us out of bed a lot of mornings. And my mother would say, Mr. Diddle's out here. And we'd say, come in. So she'd fix him a cup of coffee and talk to him. And he was out there 4 or 5 times a week. He didn't want me to get out of Bowling Green. He wanted to keep me here at Bowling Green.
Diddle gave both of them a scholarship in order to ensure that he got Darel.
I never thought about getting a scholarship. I just played hard and wanted to, I didn't even think about scholarship. And here comes Mr. Diddle, offered me a scholarship because the numbers I was putting up.
It worked out very nicely, and Darel, of course, was a tremendous recruit here at Western Kentucky.
He was a yeller and screamer. Mr. Diddle would yell and scream and holler, and I wasn't used to that. My 3 high school coaches would just pat you on the butt and say, get out there and get him, big boy.
But once we went to Western, it was just complete shock.
Because I was used to being out here, a little country boy, going to a little country school, and being around my parents all the time. I didn't have a lot of social life. We just worked on the farm.
Going in with all those different people and players, new players and new coaches and all that, so it was quite a shock. We couldn't wait till the weekend, Friday evening after practice, to get home.
Every Friday and Saturday night, and sometimes during the week we'd come out and visit them. But when we'd leave on Sunday night, my mom would cry, her babies are going to school. But after that first year, we loved school after that. We loved Western after that. But it was such a tough adjustment, leaving home, being a little country boy.
While he played here, he's one of only 3 Hilltoppers to score 50 points in a game. He's got the 3rd highest single season scoring average in Hilltopper basketball history, Jim McDaniels having the 1st and 2nd. So he was an amazing player, and so that really stands out when you look at what he contributed to our program. And the fact that he played for Coach Diddle's last team. He scored the last point in the Old Red Barn when they transitioned from the Old Red Barn up on the hill down to the brand new Diddle Arena, which was a palace when you think about basketball arenas in the South at that time. And the fact that he scored the first point in December of 1963 in Diddle Arena. So that's a pretty cool footnote in history that he's able to enjoy, and I know he has enjoyed it because I've heard him tell that story several times.
A lot of things were different than we have now in basketball. When everyone talks about Darel, they always talk about his outside shot. He didn't have the opportunity of all those long jumpers he made at WKU of getting 3, only got 2.
Freshman didn't play then, and he didn't have the 3-point shot. So when you start looking at his numbers here and what he completed, he averaged 26 points as a senior. Had the 3-point shot been in place, that would have been 36 or more. So he would have had the highest scoring average. Only Jim McDaniels exceeded his 26 points a game. Jim did it twice his junior and senior year, but that's all. Had Darel had some of the things that today's players have the benefit of adding to their numbers, he would have been off the charts. We'd have had to get new scoreboards because he'd have burnt the old ones up.
Quite frankly, Darel has probably the greatest career, not the lengthiest career because of injuries, but he probably had the most significant career of any WKU basketball player that went into the NBA or the ABA.
My name is Bobby Rasco. I'm 82 years old.
Darel kind of credits playing against Bobby Rasco in practice with helping him perfect his shot.
But because Bobby was so tough on him, he didn't have the advantage of being able to get the shot off easily. He had to learn to fend off Bobby's defense in order to get the shot off.
And so after watching Bobby be so serious about his game, it carried over to me. And every time I went to the gym to play, I was serious about my shot. I was serious about where I was shooting it from. And I didn't goof off and take bad shots in practice.
He learned to play at the collegiate level because of Bobby Rasco.
And with Bobby Rasco guarding Darel those first couple of years as a Hilltopper, he realized, I got to do something to get open. And I got to get my shot off against a tough defender.
And all of that was of great help to him when he went to the ABA, because that league allowed a lot of pushing and shoving and what have you, and everyone struggling to get an advantage over your opponent. So
Bobby is my hero. And we also garden together. We do a lot of things together as buddies. They didn't come any better. I mean, as good as he was in basketball, he's a better person.
Well, thank you, Darel. We had some grand times together.
When Darel graduated WKU, the ABA was not in existence, so he could either go to the NBA or back in those days, AAU was very big.
I was drafted by the St. Louis Hawks. They asked me to come out and try out for the team. I said no.
And Darel decided at that point in time, because the NBA did not offer no-cut contracts, he was going to go to Phillips 66, which is based out of Oklahoma, and he was going to play for an AAU team. Nowadays, most people don't even know or even knew those kind of opportunities or teams existed.
And in those days, that was considered to be amateur basketball. They worked a job during the daytime, and then they played basketball or practiced basketball and played at night. Those teams were fully as good as the NBA teams were in those days.
This is the pool from which Olympic teams were drawn. And Darel played for the Pan American team, and had he not gone pro, he would have played for the Olympic team the following year.
That was one of my best experiences as far as basketball, because I traveled to 23 foreign countries, played in a world tournament, won a gold medal in the Pan American Games, played on two U.S. national teams.
And then when the ABA came into existence, I mean, Darel certainly was good enough to play pro basketball in the ABA based upon his accomplishments and his game improving in that professional level.
Darel wanted to come back and play professionally closer to home, and that's why he wanted to come play for the Colonels of the ABA.
Most teams back in those days in the ABA, the first thing that they wanted to do was find players in their general area so fans would come out and see them. So it was a natural fit for Darel Carrier to go to the Kentucky Colonels. He was a slam dunk. When Kentucky decided to offer him a contract, a no-cut contract, he was going to take it, and the rest is history.
He was in a league that had a three-point line, a new rule that has changed the game and made the NBA game as popular as it is today.
It came in 1967 when the ABA started. There was no three-point shots in high school, in college, in any other professional league, except the ABA started then.
The ABA doing that made the game more entertaining right off the bat. The NBA saw that.
And it was one of the exciting things that kind of separated the ABA from the NBA at that time.
Bottom line was, it became really a competitive and competitor league to the NBA.
Darel was at the right place at the right time. Darel, his strength was shooting, and his strength was long distance shooting. Darel took a new rule and made it work, made it successful. It was a business model, a business plan, if you will, that was well suited to Darel, and he made it happen.
The three-point line was something that a lot of players at that point in time had not learned how to take advantage of. Now in an NBA game, we may see 50 three-point shots combined. Back in those days, even in the ABA, they'd shoot maybe 10, 15, or 20 combined, both teams in a game. I mean, Darel would just absolutely light it up. And this is his game, is the three-point shooting contest and being able to be a long-distance shooter. So
Yeah, I would say he went a long way, maybe largely responsible for making the three-point shot a permanent and valid offensive weapon at both the, not only just in professional ranks, but in college and high school basketball as well. He proved that it was a weapon, and it gave the Kentucky Colonels a great advantage.
I mean, you can imagine, Darel averaged 26 points a game. That's kind of what it was without the three-point basket. Imagine now what that would be, because at least half of those shots came from 18 feet or more. So imagine if he made 50% of those, the points he would average.
He would have blown probably about every statistic leader out of the water. So it's a really remarkable feat of how successful he was in basketball for so many years without the three-point shot.
When he came to the Kentucky Colonels, they, like every other team in the league, needed scorers. And Darel and Louis Dampier provided that scoring punch.
And we talk about the Splash Brothers, the Golden State Warriors with Thompson and Curry. Great, but Louis and Darel could shoot it just as well as those two players can right now.
Louis was a tremendous shooter. Darel was even better shooter.
He and Louis Dampier certainly were the #1 scoring backcourt in the history of the ABA. And he gave the Kentucky Colonels a physical presence and someone who is going to get in there and fight you, even though he's at 6'3". Unfortunately, in those days, very few games are televised. None were televised nationally. So the exploits that Darel and Louis put together at Kentucky as the original Splash Brothers is lost just to basically highlights and to word of mouth.
So people really didn't know about them. People really didn't see how good they were.
Darel, if I'm not mistaken, still holds the all-time percentage record for three-point shots in the ABA and will always hold that record.
And so Darel was probably the best shooter in that league for the many years they were a league. Before their 4 teams, I guess you could say, merged into the NBA. And Darel was a star for 6 years on the Kentucky Colonels, featuring a three-point shot that even Louis Dampier said he was the greatest shooter he ever saw.
He was the leading three-point shooter in ABA history, and the three-point shot then became common across all aspects of basketball, men and women's basketball.
With all the hard work and dedication, it carried over in my business world. So now I'm a real estate broker and auctioneer. Who give 400? Hey, 4, hey, 75, 75, 500. Hey, 5, hey, 5, 75. And I've been that since I got out of basketball. Basketball opens a lot of doors for you, but you got to have that work ethic to be able to follow through and make everything work out the way it should work out. Just playing basketball won't get you there, because you can look around at all the professional players that's played and see what they've accomplished after basketball. And I've tried to make mine work after basketball.
So my dad's been not only a teacher that has taught me about work ethic and discipline and faith in the Lord and having a Lord and Savior like Jesus Christ, but he's also taught me about business and real estate, and I'm very fortunate, I'm very blessed to have that kind of influence in my life.
Well, I just know that Darel has a very accomplished ability to make a business deal. And whether that's purchasing land, whether it's management of the land or the buildings, whether it's selling, he's thought and made real estate a really good living for himself and for the family, the Carrier family.
Yeah, for several years, Darel Carrier was a magistrate here in Warren County, Kentucky, and did a great job of that, of course. And
he put his name on a ballot, and he became, for 3 full terms, 12 to 13 years, a Warren County magistrate.
And I really believed that Darel simply would make all decisions based upon what he felt was best with the community of Bowling Green.
My brother and I were very fortunate to grow up on a farm. I think it taught us a lot of work ethic.
I have fond memories of the farm, and as I get older, I miss the farm. Being in the city, farm teaches you a lot of different things. It teaches you work ethic. It teaches you how to earn an honest living.
And I coached each one of them, and each one of them won a championship. I got them started at a young age, and I'd work with them on the court.
We did a lot of drills. We used to go down a lane that was paved and had a dairy barn at the end, and we used to have him in the car honking the horn as we were dribbling the basketball, and he'd honk the horn, and we would go from side to side and behind the back, between the legs, crossover, left hand.
You know, he was a great coach. He knew the game. He knew what it took to get to the highest level, and it all goes back to hard work. Work ethic is everything to him, and the more you work, the more you'll get out of it. And so, obviously, playing ball in college was a goal of mine, and my dad helped me get there. He gave me every single opportunity and resource for me to get there. And so, obviously, I took a lot of advice from him over the years in order to get there.
Out of basketball, a good marriage, is so much greater than basketball ever was or ever will be. And I met that woman 3 miles up the road.
And he had just finished playing pro ball, and I really didn't know anything about him or his pro career. But he was just the most beautiful creature. Just looked like that statue of David by Michelangelo.
She's everything to me, and basketball is just a short-lived thing. And it was wonderful. Basketball is wonderful. But boy, you get a mate like I got, she's she's easy on the eye. She's beautiful.
Yeah, so my dad, he's a pretty simple person, and growing up, you would really not know that he played professional ball. And everywhere we would go, out in the community, obviously a lot of people know who he is and about his career, but at home, he is just such a humble person. And I think that's another value that he made sure to instill in my brother and I was humility.
Both my boys, they're just such good men. They're just such good men, and I'm just so proud to be their mother. And they are just my greatest blessings.
They've just been wonderful, and she described both of them to a T, and then they're just great young men. We've never had any problems with them. And then we have 2 grandsons I want to mention, and they're special. And
there's just nothing like grandchildren, and grandchildren that you can love on and adore and just watch grow. It's just like you want to hold on to everything they do. And it's like, oh my gosh, they rolled over today. Oh my gosh, they said a word, it sounded like my name. Oh my gosh, there's nothing like grandchildren. And these 2 are just exceptionally special.
Those boys are his pride and joy. I imagine it's probably what it was like for him when he had Joshua and Jonathan, you know, when he was in his 40s. So it's really fun to watch. I think they keep him young, they keep him on his toes. When those boys are at the farm, they're his world. So it's been fun.
A couple things stand out to what my dad always taught us, and number 1 is work hard, but number 2, be kind to people. Treat others as you want to be treated.
I do appreciate his approach to life and how he chased his dreams, and he had a passion, and that passion took him to 23 foreign countries, and it provided an opportunity to play a sport and make money playing and doing something that you love.
He was tenacious, and to me, that's part of the battle, is wanting it and getting in there and making something good happen, and that's what he was great about.
Harold and Darel Carrier are 2 of the greatest men that I've ever known in my life. But I don't think that I'm ever going to meet another set of brothers that love the Lord, that love their family, and love each other more than Darel and Harold Carrier.
If you want to get whipped fast, you say something about my twin brother Darel.
You know, I grew up a Kentucky Colonels fan, and I can remember going to those games and seeing Darel. And Darel was a guy that stood out in my mind. He's just one of the best shooters in that league, you know, and as a player, you always watch those kind of guys. And
when you talk to Darel, the cup was always half full. He was happy. He hasn't changed from 1964 or 5 till now. He's always a positive, good fella, and I love him.
There are just a lot of good laughs, and Darel was a country boy from down in Western Kentucky, and he could keep you laughing with different little stories.
Well, Big D's funny too. He's got a really fun personality. I think a lot of people don't realize that about him, and as his daughter-in-law, I've gotten to see that side of him, which is really fun, and I love to bring that out of him. It's my favorite thing to do.
He has such a rich and important chapter in WKU basketball history. So if there's anybody who deserves that, to have that jersey hanging in the rafters, it would be him.
In the future, we're just kind of simple people who love our home and love our farm and love each other and love our family. And, you know, if this is all I ever do, I have lived a good life.
We love home, and I'm sure we'll try to keep up with the grandchildren, and that'll be some moving around as we get older, watching them in sports and hanging out with them. Otherwise, home is very special right now.
This is our sanctuary.
We love home.
Back when my daddy was a boy, his father would haul off every lug and every leaf from the family tobacco crop. 5 long months they fought the dust and the dirt with a team of mules. They prayed for rain on August days, that crop kept the cupboard full. Bad news came that harvest moon when that tobacco check came. Hangman's noose you can't cut loose, the prices crashed that day. Well, his daddy looked up and said, son, I'd like to teach you what I know. Looking blank at a tobacco check down at the auction block door. Well, if it don't make money, it don't make sense. You learn to save pennies in times like this. Sometimes hard times hold down to this. Sometimes hard work is just sweat and grit. You barter and trade in times like this. If it don't make dollars, and boy, it don't make sense.